Hi. This morning I am going to make an Elon Musk cucumber salad. Now, the reason I'm calling it an Elon Musk cucumber salad is because Elon's been on my mind for the past couple of days, and I'm hungry for cucumber salad. And so I thought, why not just combine the two? So this is Elon Musk cucumber salad. I'm going to talk about him while I make the salad. The first thing I'm going to do is cut up some tomatoes. So when I first heard about Elon, it was probably 20-something years ago. I was a big fan. I really liked Elon. And I was watching everything on TED Talks, and I was watching his videos on YouTube, and I was loving everything he said. And I was thinking, man, this guy is brilliant. We are so lucky to have him on the planet. And he's going to help us save the planet, and he's going to do so much good in this world. And I was just really proud of him and everything he was saying. And I'm also one of the first, I was at one time one of the first people to ever use Twitter. I was at the tech conference in Austin that happens every year when Twitter was launched, and I was like one of the first people who joined it. And then I didn't really catch on. I didn't get it at first, and I didn't use it much. I just thought it was a way. I just thought it was like an alternative to the telephone, like kind of like a walkie-talkie or something. And I couldn't see the potential of it until it took off without me. And then when it took off and I went back and looked at it, what all was going on, I was like, oh yeah, I want to do this. And I started participating in Twitter a whole lot more, and it got to the point that I liked Twitter better than Facebook. I loved Twitter, but there were a few things that I wished were different, and so when Elon bought it, I was like, yay! This is going to be great. Elon's going to make Twitter really super wonderful, even better than it can be if that was possible. So anyway, Elon bought Twitter, and I was following him, and a lot of the stuff he said I agreed with, and I was liking it. But every once in a while he would say something that was like, ooh. And me being who I am, liking respectful, civil debate, I would throw in my 2 cents worth. Of course, he had millions maybe of followers, and I didn't expect him to ever read it. But I thought maybe some people who like him would read it. And I became invisible on Twitter. Nobody could see me anymore. And I thought, well, Elon did pay $42 million for it, so, people ought to be kind and sign up for a subscription. Maybe that's what the problem is. So I bought the check market. Was paying him $7 a month or whatever it was. People still couldn't see me. The only time I got any response on Twitter, and I used to have lots and lots of, relatively lots of, a few thousand followers, and I get lots of interaction. And then all of a sudden I just became invisible. And then But if I would respond directly to somebody, sometimes they might respond back to me, but not nearly the responses I used to get before Elon bought it and I bought a check mark. So I thought, well, that check mark was worthless. Didn't do me any good to pay $7 a month. Oh, what a goose I am. And I continued to put in my 2 cents worth, and I continued to be quite shocked quite often, more and more often, at some of the things Elon was saying. I mean, I was thinking things like, man, he must be taking some kind of drugs that's affecting his brain to have a change of heart and a change of mind like I'm seeing here. A scary change of heart and scary change of mind. And I didn't know what to think about it, but I even tried starting a new Twitter account. But I continued putting in my peace of mind and saying what I thought, and it continued that nobody could see what I had to say. So I finally I ended up getting locked out and could not get back in. And I tried and tried and tried everything they said to try that I could find. And I could not get back in. And I finally just gave up and closed the first account and just forgot about the second account. So I should have 2 Twitter accounts somewhere. Oh, my hand's dirty. And then he hooked up with Trump and all that stuff that went down. And it was some scary stuff in the world. And you know, when I was first watching Elon talk on TED Talks and stuff, I thought, this is a man who can feel. This is what we need in the world, is men who can feel with their emotions. Because I used to work a lot with couples and men and women in relationships and stuff. And men would say to me, I want to learn how to feel with my emotions, not just my sensations. And I thought that was very deep and very profound, that they were aware that they couldn't. And when I would see Elon talk and get tearful and stuff, I thought, this is a man who can feel. The world needs more of this. This is so awesome. He can be a role model for other men who want to learn how to feel. I mean, I really admired him so much. And lately I've just been bumfuzzled, just totally confused by this stuff that he's been saying about empathy, because learning how to give and receive empathy has made huge, huge beneficial changes in my life. And so I was like shocked that anybody would think empathy was bad. And so I went, and lately, that past week or so, I've started going back and looking up Elon and seeing what he had to say about empathy. And it dawned on me, he can feel because he's really, really good at giving himself empathy. But he hasn't a clue how to give anybody else empathy, because he can't relate to him, because he's such a genius and such an odd fellow. In many ways, good ways. But it's probably pretty lonely not to be able to relate. And I can relate to that because I got dropped on my head off a washing machine when I was a toddler, and they've been calling me a genius ever since. They meaning people who know me. And I can't say as I blame them. I guess I am. So it is kind of a life of solitude. So I can and I'm really good at giving empathy to people. I'm looking for my peeler. Here it is. So I'm going to peel these cucumbers. First, I'm going to get this tomato juice off the cutting board. So I'm really good at giving empathy to people. If I have walked in their shoes and had the experience, then I know what to say. But if I haven't walked in their shoes and lived their experience, I can't imagine what they're feeling. And maybe I'm confusing sympathy with empathy. Maybe what I'm doing is I'm sympathizing with people because I felt that way myself before. I am a little bit confused about what is empathy and what is sympathy and what is the difference. But I'm thinking that the deal that's going on with Elon is that he's a very lonely man who's lived a life of emotional solitude, and he's very good at empathizing with himself and not very good at empathizing with people he can't relate to because he's never had experiences anything like theirs. And that's a lonely, sad thing. And I imagine it would probably piss you off if you don't know how to get your social needs met. So he's an angry man. And I'm guessing that this stuff that he's calling negative empathy and manipulative empathy, I can't even fathom how something like empathy could be used to manipulate. But I'm going to keep studying that until I either understand it or debunk it. For myself, I kind of think he's also a little bit narcissistic. Now, that's something I can relate to, too, because there was a narcissistic thread in my family, and I became very, very familiar with it, and I picked up a lot of the traits. But as an adult, when I had people calling me narcissistic and I started studying about it, I thought, oh, I can see why they wouldn't like that about me. And I started working to diminish my negative ego and replace my narcissistic habits with more sensitivity, more ability to understand where others are coming from. And I kind of think when you combine self-empathy and an inability to relate to others and give them empathy too, with narcissistic traits that you may not even be aware that you have, if nobody's had the courage to tell you you're a friggin' narcissist because they're scared of you because you got so much money and your daddy was a Nazi. Well, that lack of self-awareness, that blind spot, would have to be extremely frustrating. And I'm wondering if that may have something to do with what he's perceiving as manipulation. I just kind of think Elon wants to get all the empathy and give none. That's what it looks like to me. And empathy is a two-way street. Nobody's going to want to keep giving you empathy if you don't have any for them because you can't relate to them. So it would behoove anyone, as it did me, to learn how to give empathy as much as they can. Now, I'm really, really, really good at giving empathy if I understand what somebody's going through because I've been through it myself. Then I know exactly what they're feeling, and why they're feeling it and the effects it has on them. And I'm really, really good at doing the empathy giving stuff. But when I come across someone that I absolutely cannot even fathom what they've been through or how or what, I'm just kind of at a loss for words. I can listen, but the closest thing I can come to empathy is I don't even know what to say to that. I can't even fathom what you've been through. But it must be horrible. It must feel really, really bad. That would be the closest thing I could do for giving empathy if I haven't experienced something myself. So, I'm worried about Elon because he's an extremely powerful man. And, you know, all he knows about Tesla and the stuff he knows about. Well, I remember I was seeing him talk to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia or somebody, and he told that guy, there's going to have to be a universal basic income. And I'm going, boy, ever is there, and it's long overdue too. Well, actually, I don't think it's that long overdue. I think what's long overdue is a government that serves the public instead of corporations. Now, I know Elon wouldn't like that. And it's not that I'm opposed to corporate welfare. But when you give corporate welfare to the exclusion of people who are starving and homeless, who's going to buy your product? It seems a little bit short-sighted, and there seems to be a lack of enlightened self-interest going on. But anyway, the look on that Saudi Crown Prince's face when he found out Elon Musk thought that universal basic income was an inevitability was a profound emotional experience for me. It gave me hope for the world because he was educating such high-level, important leaders who had a reputation, at least from what I've read. Now, you know, and I haven't seen all the aspects. But I had the impression that those Middle Eastern leaders can be somewhat without empathy for people and inclined to believe in enslavement of the poor and exploitation of the poor and cruelty, meanness, no thought or care for equality. And it doesn't have to be everybody gets the exact same amount of money to live on. I'm not talking about that kind of equality. I'm talking about like a basic level of everybody's basic human needs are met. Everybody has a comfortable place, comfortable, warm place to sleep at night in the winter and cool place to sleep at night in the summer, now that we're about to burn up like the Alfred Hitchcock movies used to warn us about from overheating. So I just was really proud of Elon for realizing the need for a universal basic income. And I never thought he would be it never occurred to me that he would be someone who would want to eliminate a whole lot of people. But I also didn't realize his Third Reich background, conditioning probably. And I didn't know at the time that what a big fan of apartheid he was, because he thinks it works well. Which is another scary thing about Elon, in my opinion. I mean, I don't understand why they can't create more jobs by shortening the work week to 20 hours, and why they can't give people more money to spend and increase consumerism so people can afford their more people can afford their products by doubling the minimum wage. Well, that by now, it's been so long since they've increased the minimum wage, we need to freaking duple it or more, maybe. I mean, I just don't understand why there has to be an abusive work ethic. Why can't there be an inspiring work ethic? I mean, if you paid people more, you could demand a higher quality of work and more efficiency. You'd have better people working for you. I remember that movie Slacker. And here we are. The attitude that has developed these days is what I grew up thinking was like communism. Like what I'm talking about is in the 60s is when I really started taking notice of the world around me and what was going on. I was born in 55. So there were some good things about that time, and there were a lot of bad things, like segregation and stuff, and the horrible wage inequality between black people and white people and all that, and lack of education for poor people and stuff. But one good thing that I remember was the customer service. Man, you walk into a store and they would go, "Be right with you, ma'am. I'm helping her right now, but I'll get to you as soon as I can. Come on in and look around." That was the kind of thing the employees were taught to do to make people welcome and maybe even get them to buy more, because they look around and they see even more things than what they came in for. And it worked. And we felt appreciated and we felt seen. Sometimes I walk into businesses these days and there's no bell on the door, and I'm going, do they even know I'm here? And one time, and the people ahead of you, it's almost like sometimes you think, I mean, if a store employee is helping me and I see there's people behind me waiting, I try to get my business done. I'll ask them about something else later. Not these days. No. People is like, I was here first, I'm going to get all my business done. And they will prolong and prolong and prolong their business. And you might have just one little question that would take 45 seconds. And if you ask it, you're being rude. And I'm thinking, no, the person who's not getting their business done so that this store can get on to the next customer and other customers can get some service too are the ones who are being rude. I think we've got our concept of rudeness backwards these days because we've become so much like a communist nation. Only I don't know if communism is the right word. It's really a fascist nation because the judges that tried to protect us from monopolies are all dead, and now they've turned corporations into people. And the only people who deserve welfare in the minds of the government leadership are the rich ones. What I don't understand is why those who benefit the most from capitalism by using the system wisely. I'll give them credit for that. If they're making a whole lot of money, they're doing something right. They've got some wisdom in their process. But I don't understand why those who benefit the most from capitalism wouldn't want to support the system that enables them to be so successful by paying the most in taxes. That only makes sense to me. Now, I get that whole concept of business is going to create jobs, and jobs is what makes the economy thrive. To a degree, that is true. But I also agree with Eisenhower, who said that, yeah, but if you give them a tax break without making that tax break contingent upon job creation, they'll buy yachts and caviar and $60,000 bottles of wine and second homes, and none of those jobs will ever be created. And look how many people Bezos just laid off. And how big a tax cuts did he get, I gotta wonder. Now, I don't know, but I got a lot of wondering I've been doing. So, oh my goodness, I've been going on for 26 minutes, and I'm not even halfway done with my salad. I got the tomatoes cut, and I got the cucumbers cut. I'm going to put some salt in here so these vegetables will leak a little bit. Leak juice. Bleed. What is it? Do they bleed? I don't know what you call it. And I'm going to put a little bit, not much, but I'm going to put a little bit of red pepper. Cayenne. Not a whole lot, because I don't want it to be too hot. And all I know is we got a long way to go to create a country where everybody's basic needs are being met, and there's a layer of capitalism on the top that is conscious capitalism, not cruel capitalism. You know, capitalism made a promise that it did not keep. It said it would, through the law of supply and demand, see everybody have more, be more, do more. And it didn't work. What we've got is a whole bunch of slackers working in restaurants. You walk in and you're standing at the door wondering if they're open, and there's two people over in the corner that are supposedly waiters and waitresses who are talking, gossiping, chatting, laughing, and they don't even say, hello, man, welcome to our restaurant. We'll be right with you. They don't even bother to say, we'll be right with you. They just keep on carrying on the personal conversation. And then they get mad because they don't get a big tip. And what has business done about it? Enable the slackers by requiring tip sharing, all the tips, and you got to share it with the management, and you got to share it with the bartender and the cooks and everybody. So there is no incentive whatsoever for good service in restaurants these days unless it is a personal ethic of a person working there. And you got to know it would have to irk the crap out of somebody who is doing their best to give quick, efficient, good, accurate service, to have to share their great big tip with somebody who's standing over in the corner doing nothing but gossiping with another slacker, while people stand at the door wondering how many minutes they're going to have to wait to get seated, to even get seated. So, that's what government working on behalf of business has done. It has created a world where, a country where we're waiting in line here as long as they have to wait in line for service in Russia. Now, granted, we still have more products and services that are available to us than they do in Russia. But probably not for long with all the tariffs that are coming down. And the main thing I'm worried about is people like Elon who are angry because they can't get enough empathy, get all the empathy, detesting the poor for being useless eaters. Excuse me, nobody wants to be a useless eater. Yeah, now there may be some sluggish mentality. There may be some people who did not learn the values of giving good service and being efficient, cleaning up after themselves and all those things. Or they may have rejected them out of anger and frustration and hopelessness. But those things can be learned and taught, and I don't know. I don't know what the heck I'm saying. I'm saying that there's a lot that needs help. And I know there's ways to help it be good the way everybody wants it to be, and the way in some ways the way it used to be. I don't want to be a person who longs for the good old days, because there was a whole lot of stuff back then that was scary bad too. And what looks to me like now is there is a effort to move back toward the scary bad stuff, like the racism, racial favoritism, racial hatred, and what's going on with women. Women are going through some of the same stuff with men thinking they need to have control over women's bodies, and they probably do have to have control over women's bodies before any woman's ever going to want to be with them, because they never learned tenderness and gentleness and kindness in the bedroom. We just have so much we need to learn in order to be happier, more caring, sensitive, kind people. Oh, now I'm hearing all y'all in my mind pshawing kindness and how there's some kind of a saying about people who are too kind for their own good, who don't realize the futility of caring. And there is a lot of futility in it, I will admit. But the only way people are going to learn how to care more deeply and be more kind is if they experience it themselves. And I'm hoping to be a part of that. And that's about it. The only thing left, I've got this entire onion in here, and then I'm going to put some garlic, and then I'm going to put a little vinegar and olive oil, and I think it's going to be ready, and I think it's going to be good, good, good. So I'm nearly done. This is red onions I'm putting in. It's cucumbers, tomatoes, red onions, and then I'm going to put garlic and olive oil and vinegar. And I think it's going to taste good. I hope it does. So I'm nearly there. Anyway, back to Mr. Musk. I was such a fan of him and so pleased to know there were caring, sensitive men with a good heart like him. And then he turned into a scary meanie that just, I didn't even know, I still don't even know what to think of it. It was like, golly, how did something like this happen? And how can we get, I wanna admire him and respect him. I don't want to be scared of the man and his thoughts and his ideas and all what he's trying to do. But my God, how anybody can prioritize shooting rockets to the moon over feeding people who are starving and have no place to sleep at night. People who are going bankrupt because they needed medical care and didn't have the money, and the hospital couldn't turn them down because of there's some kind of a rule. What was it? Some kind of a doctors take an oath, the Hippocratic Oath. They were scared to turn down a patient because of their Hippocratic Oath. And so they started billing the person, and now they're in bankruptcy. People are going bankrupt for the lack of medical care. Excuse me, that is just really, really similar to murder. To deny people medical care. Of course, well, I wasn't talking about denying but now they're talking about denying. And now they've got what are those companies that health insurance? They've got health insurance executives deciding whether or not someone can have the treatment they need. I saw this video about a nurse who was prepped and ready to do surgery, and suddenly the health insurance company said no, they didn't. We're not going to pay for that. And she's got a patient laying there ready, waiting, I think unconscious for surgery. That is some scary stuff if it's really going on in the world. And I think it was. I think it is. Because this woman who was talking about it she was talking about how it wasn't the first time it had happened, that she had told a patient they needed surgery and they had scheduled the surgery and they had to call it off when the patient was in there waiting for surgery. She was agonizing over how it had happened again. And so we're losing our good doctors. They're all just quitting because the health insurance companies are telling doctors what they can and cannot do. That is absurd. That's another thing that's upside down. This whole world is upside down right now. We need to turn it right back up. But I don't know how other than to increase awareness of what's going on. Now, a lot of people don't care about health insurance because they're perfectly healthy. But at some point, you're not going to be. I thought when I was in my teens and 20s that I was invincible and I was going to live forever. And I didn't need any medicine either. But then I got older and found out, yeah, I do once in a while need a doctor. And the older I get, the more often I need a doctor. So I'm chopping up. I'm making the garlic as fine as I can make it. Woo-wee. It's going to be good. I think this is going to be some good tomato cucumber salad. And here, maybe I'll let you see what I'm doing. So these were garlic cloves, and I'm just chopping them really fine. See how I chop it? Really, really, really. You got to have a sharp knife, and you just chop them all little bitty. And then, I think this salad's going to be good. Take up the little slivers of garlic and put them in the salad. And stir it. And I'm not planning on turning this into a cooking show. That is not my aim. I just had Elon Musk on my mind so strongly this morning, and I was hungry all at the same time, and I thought I'd just give it a try and see how it turns out. Now, what I'm going to do is, I've got 3 kinds of vinegar. I've got balsamic, and I've got plain white, and I've got apple cider. Oh, it's in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a tiny bit of each vinegar, not much, in a bowl, and I'm going to add some of the salad and see which one tastes better. And then whichever one tastes better is how I will make it. But I'm not sure which one I want yet without tasting it. So I'm going to put this in here, this in here, and this in here. So I'm going to put a little bit in this one, a little bit in this one, a little bit in this one. And then I'm going to stir them up in the vinegar. Because I'm an experimental cook. I make stuff up as I go along. Okay. That was balsamic vinaigrette. It tastes pretty good. And the white vinegar, it was pretty good. No, it wasn't. That was apple cider. And that was white, and this is balsamic vinaigrette. I think the balsamic vinaigrette is the best, hands down. Well, it wasn't even like half a teaspoon in each of those, so I don't think it's going to matter. But I'm going to do like a tablespoon of balsamic vinaigrette because it was really good. Maybe a little more than a tablespoon. And then I'm going to put some olive oil. Not a whole lot, maybe 2 tablespoons. And I really like that cayenne. I think I can handle a little more. Not much, though. I don't want it to be too hot. And then a little more salt. There we go. And it's done. And I guess I'm done going on and on about Elon. That was half of a big red onion, 2 cucumbers, 4 of those tomatoes that start with an R that are kind of oblong. Starts with, I forget what they're called. I forget what kind of tomato it is. Anyway, look at this. It's really good. Look at this. That's my salad. And it's really good. And we need to love Elon, even though he can only give himself empathy and he has not learned how to give other people empathy, because the reason he can't give other people empathy is because he hasn't gotten enough love yet. So we need to love him. And it's the same. The people who need to love them, the people who are the hardest to love are the ones who need to love the most. So there you have it. Thank you for listening. Like if you like. Subscribe if you want to, and you will, because that would be really nice. And thank you for watching all the way to the end if you did. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.